Hello, and welcome to Health and Fitness Redefined. I'm your host, Anthony Amen. Join me today as we take a dive into the world of health and fitness. We're learning to overcome adversity, to pick back versus fiction, and see health and fitness in a whole new light. I personally love doing these kind of episodes. They're all about adversity, how to overcome it, and I believe we do have a great guest today, guys. So I hope you enjoy. So without further ado, let's welcome to the show, Scotty. Scotty, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on today.
What's up, man? It's a pleasure to be here.
Before we really get started, get into our topic, like always, just tell my audience a little bit about yourself and kind of what got you started.
Okay, so I personally, my hobbies include like board sports. I'm a board sports enthusiast. I grew up skateboarding, snowboarding. We'd go surfing every time we would go out and visit our family in California. I grew up also playing a lot of organized sports, really good at soccer, swim team, baseball, football, basketball, pretty much everything in the realms. But I had terrible eating habits and was unfortunately a little bit overweight for the majority of my life. I would hide it wearing really tight undershirts, wearing two shirts that were really thick. So I would think I was looking skinnier, not really understanding that I was projecting this insecurity through how I was displaying myself. And I didn't realize how negatively impacting it was to me over time until I discovered that if you just eat right and work out, you get a lot of discipline, grit, fortitude, and a bunch of other character traits that are actually very empowering and encouraging. And it also builds confidence. So figured that out, got really fit, and now I'm here to help you guys do the same thing.
Love it. So what was your favorite sport growing up?
Definitely soccer. I was really good at it. I was a striker, so I would always play the front right. Love scoring goals and helping assist and, making the most of what I could. I loved running. Running was definitely a big thing of mine, but I have crooked feet. I was born completely pigeon-toed, right? And so my knees, I've had to force my feet out over time. And because of that, I can't run on concrete for very long, but on sand and grass, I can go forever because I spring off my toes in a pigeon-toed manner. But because of that, because my feet were curved in, it really helped me be able to toe blow the ball and accurately score goals. So that was always a big encouraging thing that I would love doing.
Yeah, soccer was probably my the sport I was the worst at, and running was definitely the sport I was even more worse at than that. So I was more of a basketball person growing up. I still wasn't good, but I definitely played a lot. Nice. I didn't get good at sports till I hit my 30s, so figure that one out.
For sure.
Too late. So tell us a little bit about, you really were adamant on doing a thing on overcoming adversity. You said that's something that really meant a lot to you. So walk me through a little bit what overcoming adversity means to you and why it has the impact that it does.
So adversity is placed in your life to add pressure for you to grow. Adversity equals growth in my eyes. And I think the better you can navigate adverse scenarios in life, the more growth you experience. And the faster you can figure those kinds of things out, the faster you'll move forward in life. And it's substantial how much further you can go when you're faced with more adversity with the proper mindset. So I think adversity is a very good thing, obviously to an extent, but I believe it's really placed in your life to kind of test you to see, all that stuff you're talking about. Well, now here's a test. Are you going to pass the test, or are you going to go back and crawl under your bed and fail? So I've had a lot of adversity growing up, and through failure, I have learned time and time again and grown substantially from all those failures. So I'm very grateful for them, and I see them as growing pains that led me to a more established, more well-rounded human that I am today.
Do you mind sharing a specific example?
Yeah. I mean, growing up, I was heavily insecure because of my weight, and it led to me getting ridiculed. I would get called like fatso, bitch, tits, anything that would make me feel insecure. Anybody would call it because they could see it on my face. I was clearly insecure, and that lack of confidence led to me having a spiraling depression. But it was very like low key. Like I never like displayed in public that I was heavily depressed. I think I would show it through my mannerisms and how I would carry myself, but I hid it very well and would just play it off with just like laughs and be like, oh, whatever, not really showing that like, hey, it hurt me and this is like something that's degrading my mental state and my, happiness in life. And then overcoming that, I basically just like figured out how to work out, how to eat right, how to stick to it, and then like how to create a system that pulls you out of those or pull me out of that adverse scenario and onto a better path in life.
I'm gonna take this somewhere because I think this
Good.
is important in our society right now.
Yeah.
So my first question to follow up on that story, and thank you for sharing, is did anyone help you when you were at rock bottom? Or was this something that no matter what anyone tried saying or doing, it was more of a self-taught thing to help get out of it?
It was definitely self-taught, but I taught myself through aspiring to be like other people that I couldn't like talk to directly. Like I would like look up dudes on like YouTube and stuff like that and like try to learn how to work out like just from watching videos and trying things and testing out diets and just like figuring things out. So it was heavily self-taught, and that taught me more than anything. It was probably the most like important thing of the entire experience that I had, was teaching myself how to like navigate information, implement strategies and systems, and then like follow through with them through regardless of like the failures I was like dealing with outside of them. I think that if I had bitten the bullet and hired somebody to like really guide me through it, not only physically and nutritionally, but mentally, I probably could have dominated that side of me. I mean,
I'm not talking about the fitness health side of it. I'm more relating to, was there teachers that should just feel this way? Was there parents that got involved? Was there anyone personally in your life that tried so forth, like protecting you from all of this? Did it help, or was it something you really needed to learn on your own? Is it better to learn on your own, or is it better to say someone be like, no, don't be depressed because A, B, C, D, E? Like, which is the best avenue you feel that you've learned from?
So yeah, I mean, obviously your parents love you and your family,
Of
your
course.
friends, they care about you and they want you to like feel good and they don't want to see you sad. So they're always like, don't worry about it. Like it's not a big deal. But no one gave me like actionable steps to be like, hey bro, listen, okay, you're fat. Like you're overweight and this can be solved. So here is a solution that you can follow. Like no one really did that for me in person. I had to find that out. I mean, it was through my own self-realizations that I was like, okay, like I need to figure this out. And then I took the steps to figure it out. And it was a lot of like trials and tribulations that led to my ultimate success. So
I love it. Now I'm going to ask you an even harder question. Because I'm only going like this because just so you know, I know my audience knows already, very similar situation, you and I.
Oh,
So
nice.
I totally can empathize like what you went through and how you went through it. So I'm trying to see if you have the same answers and reactions that I had to growing up with it. So do you feel that the situation of being bullied and being upset made you a better person today? Or do you feel that it would have been better not to go through it at all?
No, it was essential. I needed to get bullied. I needed to feel like I know it's like bullying is just a projection of somebody else's like home and internal experience. So you can't really take bullying personally, but when they're tapping things that you're insecure about, that's where you need to wake up and be like, why am I insecure about this? Like, why is this guy calling me fat hurting my feelings? I must be fat, or I must be overweight, or I must be this or that. So it's kind of like the alarm, the internal alarm to be like, hey, wake up. Like, you got to realize that there's a scenario here and this guy is tapping a very sensitive area, and you need to know why it's so sensitive and how to overcome it.
I'm gonna follow up with my answer.
Yeah.
I 100% agree.
Nice. Yeah, I had a feeling.
And I want to really talk about this because I'm gonna broaden this scope out. Okay.
Yeah.
So me and you are probably about the same age, right?
30. Yeah.
Yeah, 32. So we're about that same age. We were right before all of this new societal push to push down bullying, to stop using red ink, to protect our kids through not only high school into college, and try to control every aspect of it so they never have to go through any kind of adverse situation. In my eyes, is having the exact opposite effect. So yes, I do believe as a parent, as someone who watches kids go through things and sees horrible tragedies, we want the best for them. That is without a doubt whatsoever, and don't misconstrue that. But on the flip side, now you're seeing with the younger generation, one little thing goes wrong and they don't understand what to do because they never learned in their lives how to pick themselves up. It's leading to more depressive rates. It's leading to higher suicide rates later in life. It's leading to a more obese population because people don't understand how to take that responsibility, that internal drive to push forward and do something about it. Every person I talk to on this show, you and I, every person that tries to push themselves up and be better for themselves has gone through some simple, like either huge tragedy or any kind of whatever. They've gone through heavy adversity in their lives and then picked themselves up and made them better people. You don't see it with people who had their lives given to them, like had everything handed to them on a silver platter. You don't see the drive. You don't see the push to be better. You don't see the push to wanting to go to work. You just see them kind of lackadaisically going through life. So what is the solution in this society as a whole? And that's my question to you. What do you think should be the answer to this obviously huge problem we're having?
Self-inflicted adversity. That's what I think it should be.
Explain that.
So putting yourself deliberately through hard scenarios to overcome them and grow from them. I think that especially like exercise, like weightlifting, is a pretty good self-inflicted adverse experience anybody can put themselves through, especially with a nice hard regimen, because every time you power through it, you become empowered because you're like, oh shit, I just dominated this task that I put in front of me, and I just like grew from that. And you do it again the next day and the next day. And like through that growth and the grit of following through and persevering as you continually get better and stronger, it leads to this sense of like confidence and self-belief that like you're capable and you can do basically anything.
Yeah, I agree. Now, when I work out in the gym, and I'm sure you're the same way I am, I push myself to the absolute brink of failure.
That's how you grow.
I want to get to the point where I ain't getting up.
Exactly.
Because then I know next time I go and do it, I can go a little further and I can go a little further. I've done things like I did the Spartan Beast. It's 13 miles up a mountain with no water. And it was 6.5 hours it took us, my wife and I. And I didn't think I was going to make it, but I pushed and we pushed. I don't remember mile 6 to mile 12. It's like, it's gone. It's totally gone. But like, we just kind of pushed through it and we made it. We made it through. And now it's like, oh shit. Like when your mind's ready to give up, that's only half. You still have double that in the tank when your mind's ready to give up. I see it time and time and time and time again with people. You got to push past where you think your physical limitations are. And that's how you truly grow.
That's the only way you grow. Because if you set a baseline and you keep meeting the baseline, how do you know where the next baseline is? If all you do is you reach 20 pounds, 20 pounds, 20 pounds, you're not growing because you keep maxing out at such like a limiting baseline, which is why you need to push to see how much further you can. Okay, I can do 25 now. Oh, sweet. Now I can do 30, 50, 70. You just as you power through the experiences and you grow by pushing the baseline a little bit further and a little bit further. So like next time you do the Spartan Beast and it was 12 miles.
13.1 was a half marathon.
So, exactly. So next time, if you have a same scenario, you can be like, well, I did 13.1. The chances of me being able to do 15 are significantly higher because I already made it to 13. What's another mile? What's another 2 miles? Like, let's see how much further I can actually go and like push these boundaries, because that's where the growth really comes. Not saying that what you did wasn't, great and you didn't grow from it.
Oh no, I can do way better.
Yeah, well, yeah, for sure. Well, because you have an excellence mindset, but because you met that line, because you hit that target, you're like, dude, I know I can hit 14.1, and then next time 15.1 and 16, and then that's where the growth comes. Setting new baselines based on the projections of what you've already accomplished.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I'm just going to actually take this time to jump right into our sponsor, because I do appreciate you guys helping us out. That is Centripeak. For those watching a video, I got a bottle right here. If you're feeling tired, sluggish, unmotivated, and maybe need a little boost before you go ahead and get yourself moving in the right direction to help overcome anything in your life, definitely recommend Centripeak, guys. If you're over the age of 35, your testosterone does naturally declining. Don't go take testosterone. It is horrible for you. Instead, take supplements that can help rejuvenate your body's natural testosterone growth and overall help you feel better. Personally, my favorite vitamin in it is ashwagandha. I do take it personally. It helps with cortisol levels, keeping them on the down low, because you don't want to be stressed. Stress leads to bad sleep. Stress leads to overwhelming. Stress leads to acne. Stress leads to a whole bunch of plethora of issues that can lead you on a downward spiral. So definitely recommend checking out Centripeak. They also do have a women's version for those women who are above the age of 40, looking to add a little extra to help get through menopause. It is something we've talked about a lot on our show, so please go check them out. I appreciate them sponsoring this show. So for 20% off, type in the code REDEFINE20. That is REDEFINE 20. REDEFINE 20. Check them out. Centripeak.com. Thanks, guys, so much. All right, Scotty, I want to talk a little bit about, how this looks and how the different scenarios, and then I want to broaden it out again. So we talked about in the gym, we talked about perseverance, and now we could take it on the next step. And I'm going to give you an example of something I personally did, is the business side of it, right? So you learn to take risks. That's the biggest thing, I think, from adversity. You learn, okay, I could take this risk because if I fail, I'm at this bottom, but that ain't as bad as the last time I was at bottom. So I opened up my business in my 20s and had no money, and figured out a bunch of financial stuff and said, wow, I have 1 year to make it or I'm done. I gave myself 12 months. I said 12 months to figure it out, or I have to close my doors. Well, we're 4.5 years later. So in my eyes, that pressure that, okay, I need to do this, that go, would only have been possible if I went through the two horrible events in my life. Like if I didn't have those, which were horrible at the moment, but I never would have pushed myself further. I just would have hopped in, been another person working a 9 to 5, not be happy, and thought, oh, this is life. And I really think that would have led to more depression later in life instead of finding my goals now and my purpose and then being successful for the now. What's your opinion on all of that?
You're never going to know unless you try. You're never going to find out what the reality of the outcome is until you put yourself through the scenario. It's like wanting to like ask a girl out. Like you're never going to know unless you ask them. You can think everything you want in your head, but what's going on in your head versus what's happening in reality are not the same. So you took a risk, you powered through, and now 4.5 years later, you proved that that risk was worth taking. And had you never taken that risk in the first place, you wouldn't be in this position. This podcast wouldn't exist. There's a whole cascading like series of events that have happened because you took that risk. So the risk opens the door of opportunity, and persevering through those risks and the adversity allows the opportunities that are doors. The doors are like there no matter what. But until you push through that first like layer of risk, those doors will never open up. So because you did that, it led you into more opportunities, which has now pushed you up the totem pole to a better experience that you're having in your life. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like you have to take the risks, even if it's like, I mean, you can calculate these risks. You don't have to be stupid and just be like, fuck it, I'm just going to risk it all. Like you don't have to like gamble with your life or like play roulette. Like you can calculate these things and you can even map them out, but you can't just like do a whiteboard of it and just be like, all right, here's the plan, and then not act, because nothing's going to happen. You have to like take the action to actually push yourself through to figure out whether your plan is sound or if it needs some tweaks. And as you move forward, you tweak and adjust and move forward. And those trials and tribulations lead to your ultimate success that you want in your life.
I totally agree. Now I'm going to broaden it out, like I said, because I think I feel like if you can answer this question correctly, you're automatically set for the rest of your life, because I don't know if there's a correct answer. So let's talk about schooling, right? Because that's kind of where both our stories got started, was in school when we were young. So we're not into the gym. We're not pushing ourselves further. We don't care. We're young.
Yeah.
But we're in this realm where we're getting bullied and we're getting depressed. And two things ultimately happen from it, or three scenarios, I would say. Three scenarios come from being bullied. The first scenario is the best one. That's where you and I came out of it, right? So we took those situations, made it better. We overcame that adversity. Great. The second one is you took the bullying with you, and then you carried that same scenario that you never got over. Now you're in your 50s and you're still talking about how you got bullied in your young, like 7, 8, 9-year-old times in school, and you're still carrying that with you and that depressive with you. That's scenario number 2. And then scenario number 3 is ultimately the one nobody wants, which is going to lead to self-inflicted injuries, et cetera, because you think that's the only way out of bullying. Now, this is where it gets complex, right? Because we're sitting here saying, yes, you need to go through something like that in order to come out on top. But what is the solution that we can teach people that scenario number 3 is never an option? You should never go down that route. I believe every single person has what it takes to overcome it. But how do we pass that without coddling our kids, without taking that coddling and being those super overprotective helicopter parents, helicopter teachers that are paving the way for them throughout life, and they'll never understand adversity because they never had to answer anything for themselves ever. So this is a hard question. This isn't easy. What do you think? And if you don't have an answer, it's fine. What do you think is the way through this?
So, I mean, realistically, you want me to answer what I think we should do with our children to push them to understand that like they're going to have adverse scenarios. They're going to get bullied. It's going to happen, but how to like navigate it.
How to navigate it and how to prevent scenario 3, which is self-inflicting wounds,
Okay.
without coddling them, because that we both agree is making society worse.
Yeah. I definitely think that you have to empower them to understand that it's like a part of their story and that they're going to get stronger because of it. But it's through like, you have to like,
It's a tough question.
yeah, it is. I mean, positive reinforcement is definitely like a good thing to push them through, but I mean, because so my younger brother, he was on the brink of doing that multiple times. He was a drug addict, was severely depressed, was on the brink of suicide numerous times. Luckily, never did anything, but was highly considering it time and time again. And I would encourage him. I'd be like, hey, just come outside with me for like 5 minutes. Like, let's just stand in the sun. And then I would encourage him like, hey, like you're going to have a great day. Like you're going to kill it today. You're awesome. You're good. You know what you're doing. You're capable. Like, let's go. And it didn't work for a long time. And then I think because I kept bugging him with it and it kept incubating in his head. And I kept being like, hey, you're going to get through this. This is a part of your story. You can use this to help other people. You can be a beacon of light for other people's lives in like through as you age, because there's going to be other people having these same experiences. And because you've gone through them and you're stronger because of them, you can use your story to help save other people from these same kinds of experiences. And now, I mean, he has like a job and he's like trying to figure it out, but he is heavily considering doing something like that because he's like, dude, I feel better. I'm more confident in myself. I have a better outlook on life, but I never would have had that had you A, not encouraged me, and B, not told me that like my story is going to save other people. Because now I feel like my entire experience has a purpose, and that purpose is going to be to save other people from doing devastating things like that to themselves. So the way I did it, I gave a lot of tough love, unfortunately, because that's how I treat myself. So I kind of like projected that out onto him, and it would not reciprocate very well. But I think over time it did. And I love him because he's my brother and I wanted the best for him. So I was like, dude, you're like, this is like disappointing. Like you're better than this, like whatever. And then it turned into me having to just like encourage him and coddle him, but being like, but I'm not like, you're not a pussy. You're not a bitch. Like, we're not going to like, I'm not going to hug you all day. Like, we need you to get you out of the house, out of your bed and like moving and like grooving and doing stuff. So I did it a little differently. He didn't have like a bad upbringing either. None of us did. So it was kind of like surreal that it spiraled down to the point that it did. But everyone's neural networks are wired a little differently. So
I'll just chime in on that. Actually, it's the people that have the better upbringings that end up being more depressed.
yeah, I'm sure.
Because it's all about not having adversity around them.
Yeah.
If you're poorer growing up in a harder community, yeah, there's avenues that you're going to turn to away, but you see success stories coming out of it all the time. Because I think the best example is professional athletes. How many professional athletes grew up from nothing?
Most.
90+% grew up from absolutely nothing, 13 kids in a house, like learning how to fend for themselves because they had a nobody coddling them. It was either single family homes where they had to work 80 hours a day to feed the family. And they saw that. They saw the hard work, and they knew the hard work they had to put in from a young age and worked their tails off to get to where they needed to be. You don't see rich people having kids that become athletes. It's
very few. And if they do, they're like rich kid athletes. Like they're like lacrosse players and stuff, private schools.
they're not
None of
your
them are like
professional,
yeah,
baseball,
yeah.
football players that make millions who
No.
deserve it, but they came from nothing because they knew they had to make it. Whereas if you're in a wealthier family, I don't have to make it. I have fallbacks.
Yeah, exactly. That's a huge problem for me still, because like I grew up middle class. So I grew up not rich enough to have all the like cool fun stuff that my rich friends had, but not poor enough to know what it's like, or not know what it's like to not know where my next meal is coming, not know if we could pay the bills, not know any of those things. So I grew up comfortably, so much so to a point that like it's kind of tarnished my drive. I realized it did earlier, because I'm like, well, dude, I'm like, everything's cool. I'm chilling. Everything's comfortable. So it never like pushed me to push the envelope to be like, let's see how far this can go. But then it also like discouraged me, because I'm like, oh man, like I don't have a Porsche, and like some of my other friends have Porsches. Like I'm a loser. So it was like it was a duality of being like stuck in the middle. And I still think it's like one of the hardest classes to escape from, or I guess get out of. I mean, obviously you can tumble downwards and become poor really easily, but becoming rich from the middle class is very hard, because like you said, you're not used to adversity. You don't have to fend for yourself. You never have to like try and push the envelope of what's possible for yourself. So you kind of just like stay stagnant, and it's pretty normal, honestly. I don't think very many people come out of the middle class. I think a lot of people from the middle class stay in the middle class naturally, because you know what comfort is. You want to stay comfortable because you've experienced it, and discomfort is like not sought after, because you don't have to, because you're like, well, dude, I'm comfortable, like everything's fine. And that's what happens to a lot of people. And then they waste away, or not waste away, but they pass that like totem pole down the ranks. Like their kids learn how to be comfortable, so then their kids learn how to be comfortable, and it's just like a never ending generation of just like comfort.
Yeah, and this is part of the reason I opened a business. I spent 5 years exactly like you. I grew up in a pretty like upper level middle class family. My parents were absolutely amazing people, but they worked their tails off owning their own business, which I think set an example for me. And those 5 years after college, I was finally comfortable. I was like, I'm doing something. I can just inherit the family business, not a big deal. But I got bored, and I got tired of living that lifestyle, and I got tired of just not achieving anything. And I was like, no, like I need to become back where I was. Where was Anthony when he broke his neck? That's the Anthony I want back. I want that drive to feel like, hey, screw you, Anthony. Get out of your freaking bed and get to the gym. Stop it. So I said, okay, let's open a gym. Let's do it. Let's just hop in and take the risk. Let's not ask for help. Let's just do it yourself. I didn't have partners, financial people involved in my business. It was me, myself, and I. And I worked 85 hours a week to get my business going, because, like I said, if I failed, I was screwed.
You put the fire under your ass.
Yeah, there was no option to not fail. There was no fallback. Your bankruptcy, personal and business, would have occurred, and that's 7 years of financial ruin.
Yeah.
And then 7 years of life in my 20s into my 30s where I want to get married, have a house, have kids. All of that was on the line. And it was figure it out and get there. And that's exactly what I did, and why I have the drive and passion that I have now, because I put myself in that situation to push forward.
Beautiful, dude. I love it.
Yeah, I think this is just a similar, and we're on the same page with this. And I think just the take-home message, just in general, is we have an issue. We all understand, as a society, we have an issue. When you get to a point in a society where you're more worried about not using red ink because you're going to hurt somebody's feelings, you have an issue.
Yeah.
People need to see failure. We need to see failure so we know where to move up, so we know how to do better. So we say, okay, This sucked. I got beat down, put out on the floor, but you know what? I know how to get up. And that's the thing we're not teaching kids anymore in school. It's done. We're too worried about hurting someone's feelings than we are about teaching people how to be better later in life, because that's what being a kid is. When you take a bunch of kids and you throw them in a room, I'm talking like 4 or 5-year-olds, they run around, they push each other down, and they get back up. Go even younger. Let's go 1-year-olds. We're talking young. Nothing on society is in their heads, right? They're 1. What do you see when they're learning how to walk? They fall. They get back up. They fall. They get back up. And they do this over and over and over and over and over again. It takes them hundreds of tries to learn how to walk. You can't make them walk. You can't say, there's your feet. You're going to go bum, bum, bum. They don't understand what the hell you're saying. But they know they can walk because they saw you do it, right? They watched mom and dad walk around the house, and they're like, if they can do it, I can do it. And they teach themselves how to do it. So we have this inherent drive from a young age, from birth. But we go through school systems and we go through this society now, and we kill that drive. We just say, nope, take it away. It's too bad for people. But that's what humans are. That's what humans are meant to be. You want to get even bigger? Let's talk about the Roman Empire, right? Had to drive to expand, had to drive to take off all of Europe. And they did it. They took over all of Europe and more. You go to Alexander the Great, they did the same thing. It is human nature to want more. It is human nature to get beat up, picked on, and say, no, I can do better. I can push myself forward and do better. You see time and time again. And we're just destroying that, which is going to destroy innovation, destroy financial institutions, because that's how research is done. And obviously you could tell this is a topic that bothers me deeply. So just take that as a take-home message to understand. Scott, do you have anything just to add to this? Because I'm going on a long rant.
No, I mean, you're exactly right. Humans always, it's innate in us. I mean, like it goes back like hundreds of thousands of years to cavemen. I mean, it's like bred into our hardwiring system to grow and innovate and do better. It's just it's what we are as humans, which is why there's a constant drive for innovation of everything, technology, houses, arts, everything. We don't even know why we're doing it. Why are they coming out with more and more iPhones? Why are they coming out with different TVs? Why do they keep pushing these envelopes? No one knows. It's just a drive that everyone has naturally inside of us that is propelling us on this journey to wherever it is we're going. And unfortunately, now it's going to be probably AI, robots, things like that. I mean, it could be unfortunate depending on like what kind of like laws they instill to prevent, human ruining human civilization because of those things. But yeah, like you said, if you give a kid a basketball and you give him a little hoop and he makes it in the hoop, he gets excited and he wants to do it again. And they keep the drive to like accomplish and conquer never ends. And it's bred in us at a very young age. So you're listening to this show probably because you have some kind of drive, some kind of like inkling to like pursue greater things. So like utilize those feelings and that internal drive and like push it outward into your life and like grow, do better, achieve more, and like accomplish anything and everything that you want to try to accomplish in your life. You're going to fail, but failure is an integral part of success. So fail, learn, change, attack again, and just do that over and over again, that inner drive, and you're probably going to succeed as long as you don't give up, because failure only happens when you stop. If you never stop, you never actually fail. I mean, do look at like Thomas Jefferson, 10,000 iterations to make a light bulb. And he was like, I didn't fail 10,000 times. I learned 10,000 ways not to make a light bulb. And it took those amount of times to actually do it. Same with the Dyson guy. And I mean, everybody else throughout history that have succeeded, They always push through the quote unquote failures, but just saw them as like slight roadblocks. And like, all right, cool, roadblock next, roadblock next, roadblock next, and just like growing from those things. So yeah.
Yeah, I think we pretty much nailed this point home, and I appreciate you talking about this today because I know I asked you a couple tough questions, but I'll summarize the episode, ask you the final 2 questions I ask everybody, which is the first one: if you were to wrap up this episode in 1 or 2 sentences, what would be your take-home message?
Fail forward faster.
Fail forward faster. Love it. And then the second question, easiest one of all. Give us all the details. How could we find you, get a hold of you, give us all the good stuff.
So you can get me on Instagram. It's at Scotty Able, SCOTTYABLE. Shoot me a DM if you need any mindset coaching, fitness, nutrition, anything like that. I'm also on Facebook at Scotty Aberisk, SCOTTYABOURISK. Feel free to shoot me a DM, PM, whatever. Find me on LinkedIn and we can chat and I can help you out through anything you need.
Thank you, Scotty, for coming on. And thank you guys for joining us on this week's episode of Health Fitness Redefined. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button and join us next week as we dive deeper into this ever-changing field. And remember, fitness is medicine. Until next time. For us, we know what it's like to feel unhealthy, depressed, and downright defeated. We want to show others there is a right way. And through fitness, you could do anything you set your mind to. Fitness can give you that motivation, confidence, energy you need to bridge that mental gap and prevent you from missing important life events. We understand it's about feeling better, living longer, and being good examples for our kids. We understand this because we live it. And for us, that's the redefined difference.